All right, so here's the first walkthrough challenge that you guys are going to be doing. In the video, we talked about how to position relative to the origin and relative to the other sides based off of using built-in variables width and height. Okay, so we have 8 rectangles here. I'm going to walk through doing 3 of these rectangles, and then you guys have to do the other 5. So let's kind of jump into it. I want to show the importance of this because right here I have a canvas size of 400 by 400. Now we have not learned how to position these in the center since they're top left drawn. All of these rectangles are top left drawn. Okay, so let's kind of go into this. Okay, so what I'm showing here, and I'm not showing how I'm drawing them, if I change my canvas size, okay, these are all positioned relative to the corners where they're closest to. So when I change the sizes, they stay locked to the corners and the edges. Okay, if I change the width and the height, let's say 600 by 800, see how they all stay locked. If I go down less, say 200 by 200, they're all going to stay. Okay, if I was not using built-in variables, this would not happen like this. I would have some that I would no longer see on my screen. Okay, so we are going to walk through and create some of these. I'm going to create 3 of them and show different tips and tricks on how to make this easier. Okay, all right, so let's close that. Let's close this. All right, so I have 2 things open. I have a project that you guys are going to take this. This is our 2.5, with built-ins. Okay, you guys are going to duplicate this code to be able to work on it. Okay, now, the first thing that we're going to need to do is we need to have some helper tools. So we're going to have a set of comments that are going to let us know what our left, top, right, bottom edges are, and then what our corners are. So we're going to replace the X's and Y's for what we need. I'm going to walk through quickly how to do multi-cursor select so we can write some code faster. We're going to use one variable that we create that's not built in to make it so that we can have all the rectangles change sizes at the same time instead of hard coding it, just so you guys can get used to that. And then we'll go ahead and create. Okay, we're also going to be using the color picker. Now, a color picker, really all a color picker is I can just select a color and I can copy and paste. Now you guys could use the hex code, but it's better for you guys for right now to get used to the red, green, blue channels. We can just copy and paste this because whenever we want to use transparency, this is a lot easier to use than with hex values. Okay, so we'll pick out some colors and then we will copy that and paste that in our code. Okay, all right, so to start off, we know let's say the right edge, because I'll do a couple of these, the right edge of our canvas. So when I run this, the right edge of our canvas, that is the largest X value that we can have in our canvas, which is going to be represented by the built-in variable width. Okay, the bottom of our canvas is the largest value that we can have, which is going to be represented, the largest Y value, which is represented by the built-in variable height. Okay, so if we wanted to describe the bottom right, the coordinates for this and this, the bottom right would be described at being at width, comma, height. Okay, you'll have to do the rest of those. I did 3 of them for you. Okay, so this, you guys need to fill that out. All right, so what we want to do is we want to create one variable. To create our own variables, we have to use a keyword let. And there's not every word that we can use, and we'll go through a little bit more detail on creating variables later. we have to use a keyword let, and we give it a unique name. Now, variables are really useful for anything that we have to touch later on, or anything that needs to change. If anything is going to ever change, then we want to use a variable for it, because we can change multiple lines of code all at once. Okay, so let's give it a keyword of size. Now, if I go ahead and run this, because I want to point this out, there are certain names that are already used by the program itself. That means that we cannot use those. It will mess up code. Okay, and this is one of those reserved variable names. So we want to create a size variable for all of the rectangles that we have. When you've seen the example, all the rectangles were the exact same size. So I'm going to write R and then a capital S-I-Z-E. Okay, and this will be for my rectangle size. All of them are going to have this value. Okay, so let's jump into this. We're going to be drawing all of these in our draw. Let's go ahead and make our background black, and then we're going to click at the end of our line of code inside of the draw code block. We're going to hit enter a bunch of times so we got space to write our code. I'm going to scroll up to the top. Okay, for every one of these, we're going to need to have a comment letting us know what position we're looking for. We need to be able to color it, and we need to draw it. So we're going to end up writing the same code multiple times. So there is a easy shortcut for us to do this, and this is called multi-cursor select. I could copy and paste, but multi-cursor select is an easy way for us to be able to write on multiple lines all at once. In order to do this, I hold, if I'm on a Mac, I hold the Command key. If I'm on a Windows or a Chromebook, I can hit the Control key, and I can select another line, and now I have a cursor on both of those lines. I can do this for all the lines of the stuff that I want to write, and now I can say hello world. This is a big game changer for being able to write code. If I know that I need 5 of one thing, I can write them all at once and then customize as I go. Okay, I can type as I want. If I hit enter, I'm creating a new line. I can also backspace and delete. Okay, so we want to do this for 3 lines. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to walk you through 3. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to write a set of comments. So position. I'm going to click enter. We know that we're going to fill the color, so we're going to go fill, and I'm just going to put 0 for black, and then we're going to need to replace. Finish it with a semicolon. I'm going to then hit enter again, so I create a new line, and this is where we are going to draw our rectangles. So we know that the format for drawing rectangles requires at least 3 things. We need an X, a Y, and a width. Now, if our width and height of our rectangles are the same, that means it's a square. I only need to have one of those, which would be my width. Okay, so let's do this. We'll just call it width. How about we do rectangle width? Okay, that is the width of my stuff. Now, I talked about us using a variable. We are going to have to write what these X and Y's are. We're going to have to go through and write them, but we did create a variable called R size. So I want to have us replace all of these that I just did. Okay, so I can hit Control F or Command F on a Mac, and now I can hit this little drop down. Okay, and notice how it says text to replace. This is super useful for us to be able to replace. If we had a name change, we can change all of them without having to worry about a spelling mistake. Okay, so let's highlight, and then I can hit Control F or Command F, and now it's already there, and I can say, well, what do I want to replace it with? Well, I want to replace it with the variable R size. R size. I go replace all, and now that is what's replaced down here instead of that R width. It's my rectangle size that I'm going to have to give it a value. Okay, so we have 3 of these. I want to start off going with colors. So I am going to go to Color Picker. How would I get here? It's really, really easy. We just go into Google or Chrome and just type Color Picker. There isn't one specific program that you have to use. It just has to be able to hold the RGB values. All right, so I actually like that color. I'm going to select this one. This is going to be one of my colors. So I'm going to highlight it. I can right click and I can click copy, or the shortcut would be to highlight and I could do Control C on a Windows or a Chromebook, or Command C on a Mac. So I copy it, and then I'm going to come here, and where I want to paste it, I'm going to highlight and I'm going to hit Control V or Command V on a Mac. That will paste. Okay. In programming, it's very, very useful for us to start getting used to using shortcuts so that we don't have to use the mouse as much and we can stay in our code. All right, let's pick another cool color. I like that one. I'm going to highlight it again, Control C or Command C, depending on what device you're using. Go back, highlight the 0, and put our color. Okay, I'm going to do this. Let's do a bluish color, highlight, Command C, Control C, highlight what we want to, where we want to paste it, Control V or Command V. Okay, so now we have 3 different colors. They all need to be different colors from the example. Now we need to start filling these out. Okay. All right, so I am going to help on doing some of these. I'm going to do the middle one right here. I'm going to do the right edge one right here, and I'm going to do the middle one on this right edge. Okay, you'll have to do the other 5. So this first one, we have all the colors. Now we need to think of the position. Now, I'm not worrying about it being exactly positioned, but I am splitting the difference between here. I know that the largest X that I have for this top right is at the width. This is the width. So if I want to position halfway on the canvas, then I'm going to want to position my width divided by 2. Okay, now if I do this and I change the width, my position for this rectangle in the X direction will change. Okay, now since I'm still tying to the top edge is identified as 0 for the Y because it's the smallest Y value I can have, so I can leave that there. Okay, now for this top right side, I want it to be it's still the same. It's going to be 0 on the Y. Now the X is going to be a little bit different, like what we had on the video. We had to subtract values because I don't want it to be positioned where it starts in this top corner and goes off the screen. I need it so that the right edge of the rectangle is over here. So let's go ahead and do that. So we want it width, and we know that we have to minus the length or the width of the rectangle to push it over, because we want to find a position relative to this top right corner that it's going to have, it's going to be to the left of that top right corner by the width of the rectangle. So I need a width minus the R size. Okay. I need to do this one right here, which would be the same thing. It's going to be width minus R size. That's what I need. Width minus that R size. My Y value, this is the top, so this would be 0. This is the bottom. This would be height. Okay, halfway in between would be height divided by 2. So that's what I'm going to put, height divided by 2. Okay, now I do have, these don't have semicolons. The code will still run, but let's go ahead and tidy code. Let's run it now. Okay. Ooh, we got an error. Let's see what our error is. Says rect was expecting number for the third parameter, received an empty variable instead. Line 29, rect was expecting a number for the third parameter, received an empty variable. Okay, so this right here, what this is the error. I am saying a variable, but I never gave the variable a value. So here is where I declared a variable. I never gave it an initial value. So inside of our setup, that's where we're going to put it. Since setup runs exactly once before draw gets called, this is a perfect place for us to put a variable and give it a value. So we're going to say our size, and we need to assign it a value. We use the equal sign to assign a value, so I'm going to say our size is 50. Finish it with a semicolon, go ahead and rerun. Now we have our 3 rectangles. Okay, you guys are going to have to do one in this corner, this halfway on this edge, this corner halfway on this edge, and then this corner. You guys got 5 more rectangles to do. Okay. For this walkthrough challenge, this is what I need to see as a minimum. You guys are going to adapt this code to find the other 5 rectangles, find the positions. Now, here's an easy way to test if you're doing this correctly. If I change the sizes of this, so let's go to 600 by 600. If these start sitting in the middle of the screen, we got a problem, okay? If they stay tied to where I originally positioned them, then I'm doing it correctly, okay? I should use variables for anything that could possibly change. So if I went down sizes, so let's say 300 by 300, if I go down sizes, it's still staying locked, okay? I want you guys to do this, get used to checking, because I will also be checking, all right? That's it for the walkthrough. You guys' challenge is to fill out the other positions with the correct things. So this is top, middle. Here is top right. All right, and our last position for this rectangle, which would be our middle right. Okay, you need to have, for each one of these, you have to have a comment, a fill color, a different fill color, and correctly position the rectangles using the built-in variables for width and height, and subtracting the variable that we created for the size, which would be the length of the width or the height of the rectangle. All right, good luck, have fun.